Let me check my calendar. When's Delwis supposed to release? 2021. Oh. Ah, sorry, I didn't see you there. My name is Jaydreamer and welcome to a brand new video series, Pokemon Edelweiss. Now, what is Pokemon Edelweiss? Well, like Lavender and Petunia before it, Edelweiss will follow my process into turning the country of Portugal into a Pokemon fan region, also known as the Delwis region. Throughout this series of videos, I'll be going through the geography, history, and all sorts of other things from Portugal that inspired me to create this region. And eventually, we'll be working towards writing a cohesive story that could take place, aka Pokemon Edelweiss. So, with no further ado, some disclaimers. Yay! Number 1. This project is not meant to be theorizing on an upcoming official Pokemon game, like any DLCs, remakes, or Gen 10. On that note, part of the reason why this region took so long to make is because I was trying to work around Gen 9, the Spain region. Number 2. All of my region projects are heavily inspired by the regions created by both Mr. Buddy and Lockstin. If it wasn't especially for Mr. Buddy, I would have never been inspired to start this journey to begin with. Number 3. Edelweiss is part of a larger canon I like to call the Ascosverse, which features two other projects, namely Pokemon Petunia and Pokemon Lavender. Whilst I would recommend checking these out, just know that you'll be able to understand what's going on in Edelweiss without the added context of the other two projects. There is two exceptions, however. Number 4. Please support all the wonderful people who helped me out on this project. Since this is my biggest project yet, a lot of people helped me out, including some returning faces. I'll leave all links in the description so you can support the original creators. Number 5. I don't know Portuguese, so if there's some words I end up mispronouncing, I apologise. You would not believe how long it took for me to pronounce Edelweiss right. Okay, I think that's all we need to lay down for now. Let's move on to today's video topic, the geography and locations that will feature within the Delwis region. Give me a second. Hey guys, geography teacher Jaydreamer here. It's been so long since I last did that bit that I changed my username, yikes. Let's talk about Portugal for a bit. So, Portugal is a country within the Iberian Peninsula, being next door neighbours with the much larger Spain. They're quite alike in some regards, but completely different in others, the main difference being their languages, of course. Portugal also encompasses some islands in the Atlantic too, the Azores and Madeira. They have a not so pleasant history, as at one point in time they were one of the most powerful empires in the world, causing a lot of people to suffer in the process. Looking at you, Brazil. This is something I intend to touch upon during the story, but it won't completely characterize what Delwis is. If I had a nickel for every time I had a region that had an ugly past, I'd have 3 nickels, so that's all of them. Huh. For some quick biome inspiration, Portugal has a lot of coastline, specifically 586 miles of it. They span from both sandy dunes and rugged cliffs. Portugal also has many sprawling plains, dense forests, bogs and marshes, snowy mountains, and even this one really cool forest that turns red. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's move on to the fauna of Portugal, aka a selection of what pre-existing Pokemon could exist within the region. These are somewhat based on actual animals that are native to Portugal, with a few non-native additions added to the pile. I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible, and in an entertaining fashion. So, let's get straight to it. Alright, are you ready to rap some Pokemon over me? Why are we doing a rap break? Doesn't matter. Now tell me, what can you find in the plains? Oinkologne, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, Toxel, Drampa, Mudsdale, Blissey, Swannet, Lilligant, Whimsicott, Seviper, Riolu, Zangoose, Zigzagoon, Eevee, Doduo. Half that didn't rhyme? Yeah, I've committed to the bit. The Pokemon in the plains were really cool, but now move to the forest, now me, that's your cue. Okay, Toedscool, Shedinja, Morolo, Tangela, Jigglypuff, Clefairy, Grafaiai, Coversquaw, Florges, Lombre, Togedemaru Gumi, Pyro, Luxio, Cypher, Flappy. We did the forest, now onto the marsh, gotta name 'em all Pokemon. Scraggy, Toxicroak, Knacklestank, Phalanx, Komomo, Larvitar, Grimer, Talonflame, Slurpuff, Limit, Turtonator, Spritzy, Mawile, Aegislash, Farfetch'd, Drowsy. Gotta name 'em all, gotta name 'em all! Gotta name 'em all, gotta name 'em all! Okay, next location's the mountains. Ice-Cube, Weavile, Crocodile, Lampent, Noibat, Frigibax, Frostmoth, Jinx, Snorunt, Duraludon, Absol, Dusclops, Mamoswine, Beartix, Atoddle, Dratini. This still doesn't rhyme, I just thought you should know. But we still have the beach and ocean now, on with the show! Binacle, Wiglet, Taxagiri, Starmie, Dondozo, Golduck, Bullybot, Halsey, Slowpoke, Codpus, Tentacle, Finizen, Skrelp, Clauncher, Magikarp, Melodic. We got halfway through the Poke Rap. Halfway is enough. I think you guys get the point by now. Say goodbye to my random clone. No! Moving on! Now that you have a brief understanding of Portugal's geography, let's move on to the towns and locations that I've taken inspiration from to create the Delwis region. We'll be going through this in the order that you would visit them during the quote-unquote game, so let's start with the starting town, or rather, the starting city. It's Antares, the capital city of Delwis, based upon the capital city of Portugal, Lisbon. Antares is large, obviously, and is densely populated. It's rather hilly, and most of the housing estates overlook the main hub of the city, which is a large square featuring the Pokemon Research Lab, the Pokemart, and Poke Center. The path leading up to the higher houses has a large arch, based on the Rua Augusta Arch, and there's also a large radio tower in the center of town, based upon the Vasco da Gama Tower, which also contains one of the gyms of the Delwis region. Note me saying one of, it's not the first. Alongside all the bustling city, there's also a small park, based upon the Estrella Garden, where many wild Pokemon can be found. The catching tutorial will also take place here. Heading towards your first gym challenge, you'll find yourself venturing down Route 1, which is based upon the Vasco da Gama Bridge, which crosses the Tagus River in order to reach Gliese, which is based upon Setubal. And whilst we're here, I should mention that every town in Delwis is named after stars within the Scorpius constellation. Why Scorpius? No reason. Anyway, Gliese is a quaint small town featuring a fishing pier, the Tagus River running through the town, and a very popular beach. Story-wise, one of the Elite Four members' houses is here, as well as the old apartment of the Pokemon Professor herself. After travelling down Route 2, a lush meadow route, you reach Sargass, based upon Beja. Not only is this the home of the first gym, but there's also several sights to see, such as an art installation based upon the Layers and Umbrella Sky project, an old castle that's been converted into a museum based upon Beja Castle, and a mysterious statue that depicts a strange legendary Pokemon. Moving towards the second gym, you cross Route 3, the Larrawag Marsh. Larrawag Marsh is actually a salt marsh, so of course the most common Pokemon found there is Knackley. Speaking of Larrawag, the town connected to the marsh is based upon Mora. It's a very quiet and somewhat abandoned town filled with white houses. The main attractions are a solar power facility and the gym itself, which is a grand hotel that's rumoured to be haunted. After discovering if that rumour is true or not, the professor contacts you and asks you to investigate a matter in the next town over, Alniat, which is based upon Elvis. An underwater railway tunnel runs between here and Porto Marinada in Paldea. Besides from that, it's slightly mountainous here and the entire city is surrounded by a wall in the shape of a star. There's also many crop fields, a sizable cathedral based upon Our Lady of the Assumption Cathedral, and an aqueduct based upon Amarada Aqueduct. Your tasks from the professor, however, will lead you into Bergen Bypass, based upon the Red Forest in Sintra. Within are many rare Pokemon, as well as an old ruined well. And another, much larger, well of sorts. The Infinity Well, based upon the initiation wells found within the grounds of Quinta de Regalera, also in Sintra. I struggle with that pronunciation. Strange noises can be heard from within, but soon you're ordered back into Antares, where you finally go inside of Vasco da Gama Tower to take on the third gym leader, a weather forecaster for the radio station. Now travelling east, you cross the large forested route that is Route 5, and travel towards Gertab, a town based on Paniche. Now, as you can see from the reference images, you may be wondering, hey, that's not Paniche. Well, let me give you a quick history lesson. Back in 1755, there was a massive earthquake and following tsunami that decimated the city of Lisbon, and Paniche also suffered from the destruction of said natural disaster. So the Delwis version of Paniche reflects a version of the city that was never able to recover from the earthquake. And not to give anything away, but there might have been an external force at hand in the earthquake that caused Gertab's destruction. Anyway, despite the destruction, there is still a gym here, a renovated skate park that's swarming with delinquent trainers, the gym leader being the head of said group. After learning the story of what brought all these trainers to the abandoned town, you can head back to Route 5, now heading towards the town of Grafaias, based upon Castelo Branco. It's another small town connected together by antique architecture. However, the town has been taken over by a film set controlled by Estrella TV, the company that owns both the third gym and this gym, the fifth gym. The gym leader here hosts a talk show on Estrella's airwaves, and his show is rudely interrupted by the first appearance of the villainous team. Of course, no spoilers for what happens there, but it's a given that you, the player, defeat those miscreants and head out on your quest for the gym badges once more. And your next destination on that quest is Lasaf, a city based on Vishu. Set at the foot of Delwis's main mountain range, Lasaf is filled with both hot springs and actual flowing lava. Because game logic. Lasaf is considered to be the centre of the Delwis region, and it's home to a large art museum, based upon the Museu Grau Vasco, which also contains the entrance to the gym in this town, which is set inside of the nearby volcano's dying caldera. After beating the gym leader and taking in the various artworks, you're interrupted by another appearance of the villainous team, and a sudden earthquake! I'm sure me mentioning earthquakes earlier isn't supposed to be foreshadowing anything. Anyway, after dealing with that situation, you reconvene with your rivals before travelling through Caldera Cave, a volcanic chamber that contains many fire and rock-type Pokemon. The cave exits out into the next town containing a gym, Zamidi, based upon Garda. Garda's prone to fog in the winter, so here Zamidi is constantly foggy, and also abandoned, just like Gertab was. Though in this case, this town was destroyed by an avalanche. You can learn about the history of the town, however, and how mysterious Pokemon drove out most of the human inhabitants. The only humans who stayed are a kind old couple and the gym leader, who are said to have been raised by a certain wolf-like Pokemon. Before heading down the mountain, you can travel up to find Valiant Tower, a location based on Belém Tower, a fortress within Lisbon. Here you'll be able to find out the origin of the recent earthquakes, as well as learn about a certain mythical Pokemon that is said to put a stop to them. The downhill of the mountain, Route 7, is based upon Serra da Estrela, the highest mountain range of continental Portugal. At the bottom of the route you can enter Iclil, based upon Porto. Like Porto, Iclil was once considered the capital of Delwis, but nowadays it's evolved into a major trading hub for the Delwis region, stocking many wares from across the world. The final gym is also in this town, set upon a large cruise ship that's currently docked upon the shores, and is run by an ex-veteran of Delwis's navy. Here is also the first time you can learn more about the royal of the Delwis region, the young Queen Claudia. After being called on an errand by the professor once again, you can travel down the sunny Route 8 towards Zuba, based upon Aveiro. There's many riverside houses here, all painted bright colours, as well as canals running throughout the entire town. Here the professor would introduce you to one of her old college friends. Hey, do I recognise that person? I feel like I've seen them somewhere before. I feel uncomfortable. Anyway. After introducing you to this strange individual, they gift you a regional variant to take care of and bid you on your merry way. Though something has caught your attention. The stories of the young queen have intrigued you, so you decide to try and meet with her, partially so you can warn her about the earthquakes that have been happening. The queen lives within the regal village of Shola, based upon Barcelos. It's populated mostly by members of the villainous team. Strange. Anyway, the royal palace here is based upon the castle of Almoral, where you can warn the queen and enjoy a nice friendly dinner with her. And just to take a break before the Elite Four and Champion, here's a bit of lore related to Barcelos. You see, many years ago, a man ventured into Barcelos on a pilgrimage, but he was quickly captured, as a heinous crime had just been committed within the town, and as an outsider he was seen as the only suspect. Just before he was about to be executed, however, the man talked with a judge who was enjoying a lavish meal. Then he said something strange, pointing to a roasted cockerel on the table. "As surely as I am innocent will that cockerel crow if I am hanged." The judge laughed at this and sent him to be executed anyway, but imagine his surprise when the prediction came true. The cockerel stood up on the table and crowed, the man escaping his baseless fate. That is the story of the Rooster of Barcelos, a myth that has now risen up to somewhat mascot status within Portugal. Why do I bring this up? Okay, I'll tell you, there's a mythical Pokemon based on this, I just had to do it. Anyway, let's go check out the Pokemon League now. If you head west from Sargas, you can travel down Route 11, based upon the Algarve, to reach Jabba, a town based on Faro. Idyllic and very touristy, Jabba is filled with hotels, restaurants, and a boardwalk arcade with fair rides. The main attraction, however, is the Pokemon League building, based upon Teatro Lefes. The Elite Four and Champion are all part of a band known as Borealis, so their league chambers are all set within a large concert hall, each room being themed after a different music genre. At the end, you can face down the champion, but you're interrupted by the awakening of one of Delwis's legendaries, summoned by the villainous team. You band together with your friends to defeat the evil team and the beast they summoned, before you're able to finally claim the champion title for yourself. Rolling the credits, for the first time. You see, Edelweiss also has a post-game, set upon the overseas territories of Portugal, the Azores and Madeira. Here they're referred to as the Lavan Isles. The Lavan Isles contain many differing islands, so let's go through all of them. The main hub for Lavan is the Battle Resort, the island based upon Madeira. As the name implies, this is where the region's battle facility is located, situated within a large villa that hosts patrons from all across the world. And I'm sure you'll spot some familiar faces in there. Next to the Battle Resort is also the Abandoned Villa, a villa that is said to have belonged to the father of the Pokemon professor, but has fallen into disrepair since his passing. The other islands need less of an explanation, really. Sandy Dunes is based upon a part of mainland Portugal, Ilha Deserta, which is an island off the coast of Faro. It's essentially the desert part of the region, but is seen as a prime holiday destination due to its warm temperatures and soft sand. Fable Forest is based upon São Miguel, the biggest island in the Azores, and acts as a large rainforest that is filled with strange Pokemon that are said to whisk people away into the Fae or spirit realms. It's off limits to regular tourists due to the dangerous Pokemon that live within. Hero Gardens is based upon a specific place in São Miguel, Parque Terra Nostra, a nature reserve filled with lush nature and wildlife. It's a lot less hostile than Fable Forest, and is mostly filled with elderly people enjoying the various sights. frigid waste is based upon Pico Island, the highest mountain in Portugal, and a quiescent volcano. It's covered in frosty powder, but is rumoured that a few vents from the underlying volcano still emit gas to this day. And finally, Left Eye Lake and Right Eye Lake, twin lakes that are joined together, which are based upon the Sete Ciudades, and the legend that surrounds it. Yep, here we go again. Many years ago, a princess with blue eyes fell in love with a shepherd with green eyes. However, their love was forbidden by the princess's father, the king. The two would always spend time together at a lake, but after the king found out about the affair, the two were forbidden from seeing each other again. It is said that the farewell between the princess and the shepherd was so sad that the tears that fell created two lakes, one green and one blue. Yes, this is another mythical inspiration thing. They're literally two lovebirds, though I changed up the colours slightly. You might have seen that I missed one. Grim Rock. That's because this island only appears once some prerequisites are met, such as finishing the plot of the postgame, which sends you around the mainland, capturing the legendary Pokemon of the region, and meeting the professor's brother. That sounds a bit boring, I know, but I'm not revealing much as well. I'd like to keep it a surprise. I should also mention that after the postgame is completed, you may also get a chance to explore the Infinity Well to find out what lies beneath the region, meeting a strange force that may change your perception of the world as you know it. But, you know, that's also something I want to save for later. So, that's all the geography and locations of the Delwis region explained and developed. I hope this helps you to really get enamored with the setting we're going to be exploring, and I hope it's shown how much research has gone into this video series. I mean, why else do you think I've been putting off this for 3 years? But with all that said and done, that's the end of today's video. Next time we'll be talking about the new Pokemon I created that could live inside of the region, with a little help from a few friends of mine. So, I'll see you all then, and thanks for watching! We will be heroes. We can change the world if we try. I go where you go. Forever friends, you and I. We will be heroes. Battle Dimension Pokemon.